Recording's in progress. There we go.
Were you lucky at bingo last night?
Yes, I won twice.
Wow. Kim won
took...
4 times last night.
Who did?
Kim.
Well, Deborah won 3 times and she got the jackpot.
Wow. Joanne won the jackpot last night. Some people I find are very lucky.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
Right?
So Trisha,
I don't think I'm a lucky person.
Sorry.
You don't think you're a lucky person?
No, I don't win on, I guess I don't really buy lottery tickets or scratch and win tickets. And I never really play bingo because I'm usually hosting bingo. And then your bingos are always on nights when I have my own shit going on.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
These months I'll be able to join in.
Okay, so we are recording this now, so I'll just get in. Again, I'm just reminding everyone, these are the supplies that we're using for my particular project. And I will show you here what the page looks like. I ended up posting a link to where I get these sleeves from. In case anyone was wondering, you can go back to the page and take a look. But I thought it'd be fun because, again, we didn't use a whole lot of the paper in our day camp. So I thought, let's use it in our scrapbook page. We have to use it all. So this is actually almost all, but not. I think there's only one piece of paper that's not part of the sampler. Oh, no, that's not true because I didn't go right to the end. I'm actually going to make you guys go right to the end. You can decide whether or not you want to, and I'll show you my other sample because I did it right to the ends of these white pieces and I just thought it looked awesome. So we might change this. So you might use all the paper except one sheet. But before we do, I'll just show you the other sample because like I said, I used the Joy of Christmas to kind of share both so that you can kind of see what it looks like both ways. So this is just a fun way to showcase multiple photos. These are 4x6 photos. In your kit, you will have the white pieces laid out, and that's just showing you where to stick your photo. You can also use those as a mat for your photos. If you trim your 4x6 photos down just by 1/4 inch, they'll sit nicely in here, or you can just overlay. So depending on what your photos that you pick to put on your project, it'll depend whether or not you want to keep a border or not. I don't know if any of you print your pictures with borders. I do sometimes print with the white border. I do all my photos always in matte. I don't like the shiny.
Trisha, you invested in the Canon selfie printer yet?
No, I want to. It's in my wish list. I just have not sucked it up to spend the money on it yet.
Tanis, did you end up getting that for your birthday?
I did, and I'm ashamed to say I haven't.
You haven't used it yet?
I haven't used it.
It's so easy. Shanna, do you have one, or Cheryl?
I have one. Yep.
No, I don't.
I love it.
You get one. I agree. The only thing that I wish, or even if they made one that was separate that printed 5x7s, it would be great. I've saved so much time and money printing exactly what I want instead of printing random things and hoping one of them works.
And you print to your own size, whatever size you want?
Well, you can't print bigger than 4x6, but you can print little pictures like 3x4, which I love for my Memories and More albums.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can print little smaller ones too, because there's like little grids that you can pick as a layout and then plop your pictures in there. It's so great. And I think the quality is pretty good.
So sorry, what's it called?
The Canon Selfie Printer. It's about $150 on Amazon. Make sure if you decide to get it that you order yourself a package of the paper and the ink cartridges, because I think the printer itself only comes with 5 sheets and enough ink for like 5. Yeah. And the price, I find, sometimes I do buy it at Staples because I have a business account there. I get a bit of a discount. But honestly, I usually just Amazon order myself the paper because then they deliver it and I don't have to drive anywhere or go and get it. Yeah, it's fantastic. So Cheryl, like any scrapbook page you've seen of mine in the last year that has like a 4x6 picture on it has been from that printer.
Actually, I don't think I've seen any scrapbook pages of yours. Sorry.
And I put them in my group all the time.
Oh, yeah, but I don't always, yeah. Sorry.
Or on my blog, you got to go check out my scrapbook gallery. There's tons of layouts there. Yeah,
Lots
it's
of
great.
ideas.
Trisha, you need to ask for that for Christmas.
I don't think I can wait till Christmas. I'll probably get off this call and go upstairs and sit and order it. I am so bad.
I don't know what's taking
Why
you
would
this
you
so
use
long.
it?
It probably would have been on Prime Days even too.
Where's the cherry cobbler that size, Trisha? I can't find it.
No, so I may have stocked up when we did have multiple card packs. This could have been one where there was multicolors because there was a few years Stampin' Up combined like garden green with real red and cherry cobbler with something else.
The good old days. Those were the good old days.
Yeah. So cherish it. I was lucky I had enough to do a class with, which was awesome. So this is the one with the paper I was telling you about, the 4 strips. So this sample I did with the Joy of Christmas, but I did the strips right to the edge of the paper. So you see the difference? One left a border around, one does not, and it looks just as lovely, if not almost it tones down all the way. So if you decide you want to keep that white border, you might choose just to do this way. It's entirely up to you, but I'm going to do my sample I walk through with you. I'm going to add in the extra 2 sheets of paper.
Yeah, I love it. Such a good way to like get a whole variety of paper out of the package.
Yeah, it's super fun. And then, and you'll see this and we'll walk through it. I found some old stamping pages. This was one of my holiday bingos. And so when we do this, you'll see we're going to leave room to kind of tuck. I haven't actually tested a picture under here yet, so I want to see if it fits. Oh my gosh, it does. So cute. Okay.
Skills, Trisha, you've got skills.
Okay. So inside your kit, you should have a 12 by 12 piece of cherry cobbler. You should have a 10 by 10 piece of basic white. And in fact, I keep calling it basic white, but I'm noticing Stampin' Up's writing it as just white on everything. So I have to start.
They're not saying white.
They're not saying basic anymore. And then you should have
Close out.
3 4 by 6 pieces. You should have a scrap 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 white piece. This is for your stamping. I realize I think I missed putting a piece in your guys' kit. Oh my gosh, Brenda, I did. Does anyone have the cherry cobbler 4 1/4 by 6 or 4 1/4 by 5 3/4?
Nope.
No.
Oh.
Is it the photo mat piece?
Yes, it's the photo map piece.
Okay,
Just
don't
cut myself
stress.
one.
Don't stress. They can cut themselves one. They've all been stamping long enough.
I just cut one.
Well, assuming they have
What's the
cherry cobbler
measurement?
paper.
What was the size again?
Yeah.
You're cutting it to 4 1/4.
Uh-huh.
We're cutting it to 4 1/4 inches by 5 3/4. No.
Isn't it 6 1/4? Or you
Thank
put
you.
it? Yeah,
6 1/4.
by 6 picture. So it should be 6 1/4.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Ladies, I seem to have 2 of these.
What are those?
I don't know. It's got a big white piece and then it's got a brown piece or a,
Yeah, making 2 scrapbook layouts. That's for my page.
but I have 2 of them.
Oh, you have 2 of them. Well, maybe that's why there wasn't another kit, and I just thought I didn't cut myself one.
Daryl has it.
Okay.
No.
Okay,
Then
and so we're
no.
gonna add to this piece. You're gonna take your paper that you have. Hopefully you did not cut them all off, but you still have some at the 12-inch length. You're gonna cut yourself 1-inch strips of various paper that you want on your page. So I really tried just to use like 1 strip of each design. I'm sorry, I thought I kept like a whole package separate of all the paper, but I seem to have combined it all. So we're just gonna guess. This is the poly paper. I'm gonna trim this down to 1 inch and I'm cutting it to 8 inches. Now, You can decide. I'm doing this the lazy man's way because you guys, I don't like to fuss. I'm cutting one strip. I also want to use my paper. I find that sometimes I just am too picky, only using the paper that I need. But then in the end, I have tons and tons of paper left over. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this all? Or it's not that what I'm going to do with it all. It's that I end up getting so much more and I use other paper. I never go back to this package. So instead of, I can cut this down to 4 inches and I'll show you a little later so that you can get 2 out of 1 strip for those of you who want to be thrifty. I am keeping them all to be 1 inch by 8, but know that you can actually cut those in half to get what you need for your project. And because you saw, I had the strips at the top and the bottom of the layout, and that's what I'm meaning, that we can separate them, but I'm just using full strips to put on my page.
Are you using just the shiny side or are you using the other side too?
We're using both sides.
Okay.
So, I keep closing this. It's because it takes up so much room. So we're trimming them to 8. Now you might want 2 strips of 1 inch from each paper so that you can use the back side of it as well. And this, the reason why I chose to do it this way is I mentioned before, this whole shiny thing, I don't know, the shiny paper, I just couldn't have it all shiny. If you want it shiny, you do it because it could be a very fancy page depending on what your pictures are. But I wanted to incorporate the other side, the cherry cobbler side, to tone it down a little bit because it's matte. It just toned it down. Now you will want to make sure that you're keeping in mind the side of the pattern that you're cutting on. So for instance, if you're cutting those trees, you want to make sure the trees are going the right direction so that when you put them on your page, the trees aren't going sideways. I mean, it's not the end of the world if they are. People will, might not notice it the same. But basically, you want to come up with 10 strips to align with the 10-inch paper. You can pick and choose which patterns you want. Whoops. But you're cutting them to 1 inch by 8 inches. And this is kind of where Team Red, Team Green come in. Did you end up doing a green scrapbook page, Brenda? I can't remember. Or is yours all red too? I should have done green, I think.
On hers is green.
Okay, good. Good. Okay, I do. Oh no, see, my trees are not going the right direction on that paper. Cut it on this one. Anyways, I just love this. I think that this still somewhat coordinates with Brenda's page. So if you're looking for, a 2-page layout, I think you can make it work because it's all using the same pages. And also, I should have told you, you could have cut all your paper strips at the same time. Well, up to 4 pieces of DSP in your trimmer would have worked. It's just easier if they're all the same size. And being that we've been using the paper all day, I was just assuming that not everyone had the same size paper that they were playing with. Okay, so I've got 2, 4, 6, 8. I'm going to cut 2 more. What am I missing? Presents, and sure, we'll use the presents. As they'll probably be gifts in my photos.
How many are we supposed to have? Sorry.
10. 10 or 8. So you just need 8 if you want to leave a white frame around it, but that's what I did on my sample, but I'm going to add the 2 extra. because I feel like it needs to go all the way to the end. And then when you have all your strips cut, just put them in a pile for now, I guess, because we got to do stamping before we start layering them. Now, if at all possible, don't shuffle them like I just did when I put them together. Try and keep the same DSP with the backing. It honestly doesn't matter. All of these coordinate, but I think this is just my, I don't know, my A-type brain that I feel like I need to have them side by side together for coordination, because it seemed to have worked with my sample. Let me know when you guys are good with all your paper cut. And we totally forgot to mention too in the group, Brenda, that when you get your projects made and when you have, when you make any kind of project with this paper or the stamps that we used, we have an album created in the group that's called My Projects. So feel free to post your own projects in there. We would love to see them. And then when you're ready to go, we're just going to use the back, the 12 by 12 to start, and the 8 by 10, or sorry, the 10 by 10. Oh, that's weird. Somehow we kind of focused. So weird. Come on, come back. Darn autofocus. Okay. So for this next part, you guys are going to use your cherry cobbler and the sweater stamp. Now, what I have both these pieces because I'm using this as a guide. I need to really get this up higher. Sorry. You guys need to be able to see this. Okay. So I'm using this as a guide. This is going to be centered on my card stock, on my card base, but I want to be able to do the sweater across the bottom, but I don't want it perfectly aligned to the bottom. I want it more so just running all across the edge, not near the bottom. Okay, that makes no sense. I know, but let me just start. It's basically a 1/2 inch from the bottom is where I'm stamping. And so I'm going to stamp the center first, and I'm just using this as a guide to see if that's where I like it. I want 2/3 of the image to pop through. I don't want the whole sweater, and I don't want just a little bit. I want about 2/3. So I'm stamping in the center first. And the nice thing about this stamp is it does layer nicely. So because it's photopolymer, you can see through it, but you can line it up so that it goes into a direct line really easily. So go ahead and stamp that with your cherry cobbler all across the edge. You might have to get some piece of scrap for on the end to be able to go off the edge. Like so. And then you're just going to go across the other side. But by starting in the middle, you kind of know that the design is exactly where it needs to be. And it's very symmetrical, right? Okay. So then once you have that down, you can go ahead and mount your 10 by 10 piece of cardstock so that it is centered on that piece of cardstock. So then your card base is in place. I'm just randomly putting a bunch of adhesive. I don't fill the whole thing up. I just need enough so it stays stuck. And some of you know that I complain all the time is that nothing sticks in my basement. It doesn't matter what kind of adhesive I use. I could use glue gun or I could use sticky strip and things still fall off. but I'm just putting that down. I'll just give it a good rub so that the adhesive does stick. But by doing this, this means this is permanent. There's no lifting it whatsoever, and that's okay. Then this is where you're going to pull in your strips. So you're going to pull in your strips, and I'm going to start from one edge to the next edge. Okay, that made no sense, but let me try that again. I am going to kind of sort these to where I'd like them. I'm going to start with my candy cane, and then I'm going to go with the piece that's the same as the double side. So cherry cobbler, and then I'm going to go into a shiny, but I'm going to go with a shiny piece that's more white because this is, you know, more solid. It's got the green, so we'll just add a little bit of white. And then some of the stripes that are on the back. And then, you know what? Let's go with the presents. Why not? And the presents have some white little ornaments is what they look like to me on the back, but all that fun retro stars. Then, okay, so now I'm finding that, okay, I've got way too many other light pieces, that maybe all my dark pieces should be split up. And this is why we don't adhere anything right away so that we can move things around to where they need to be. Now I also have this stripe. Is there room for the stripe? I think there is. Okay, so let me just make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got 10 pieces. So that means one of them you're not going to have a back of, right? You just need 10 strips, whatever strips that looks like. You just want 10 of them. And once you're happy with the colors, how they're sorted, then you can go ahead and start sticking them down. Now, I like to have a ruler with me just to help line up where I'm going to put them. The trick is I want to try and center them the best I can so it's the same white border at the top as it is the bottom, which is about 1 inch from either end. And I'm going to start on one end putting down my strip. So I'm just going to put some adhesive along one. Again, try my best. You can measure it exactly 1 inch from either end, but I'm just going to guess because that's just what I do, guesstimate. But feel free to use measure marks. I think that will work as well. I just want to make sure that that's all in. So now that I have that one down, I'm going to go ahead to the other end and I'm going to mount this end down as well. Now, the reason why I'm doing that is I want to make sure I don't end up with an off gap going, you know, one off. This way, if there's an off gap, it's in the center and they can overlap in the center, if that makes sense. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my ruler, line it up there the best I can, just to make sure that this does end up getting in the same line as what I just did. Now, really, I need a leveler is what I need to make sure that I do have it in the exact spot I want it. I don't have one of those fancy tools. It actually was on my wish list at one time. You can get these paper cutter kind of thing that sits right here and it's a laser. So you can see exactly where the straight line is. But one day that'll just be on my wish list. Until then. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead to the left and I'm going to glue down my next strip, except I have them all mixed up here for some reason. Just need to put them back in order. And you're just going to continue to do that to go left to right until you get to the center where you can just make sure it's all laid down the way you want it. And that's just to help to keep it all in a straight line. I don't know about you, but sometimes like my stuff can end up tipsy-curvy. And I'm like, how did that happen? And it's because I'm standing from one angle doing it, and it's you don't notice it until you start taking pictures and you're like, hey, how did that happen? You know what? I like this paper too. I think that this designer series paper is thin enough that you could probably use it as wrapping paper for little tiny gifts. I think that would be really cute. I don't know. Did anyone used to wrap gifts in foil?
Yep.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Oh yeah, Cheryl. Everything goes around, comes around, right? Have you lived it?
Ah, yeah, I lived a lot of it. Still living it.
Oh, well, that's what makes.
A little tip, I took one of the 4-inch pieces that was cut to 1 inch and put it at the top of the page. And I'm
Oh,
lining,
as your guide.
yeah.
That's good. Now,
Sometimes.
see, I'm just using up paper, but do you see what I mean? In that, in here, in our sample here, you really only need the pieces up to here and up to here. So really, we could have cut that piece in half. So if you haven't done this yet and it's something you want to do to save paper, you go for it. But for me to align, just because I wanted to be able to move this up and down and I didn't want to leave short at the bottom, I chose just to do the full strips, but you know you don't have to, right? Okay, so we're almost there. And hopefully it does work out perfectly where you don't have to overlap anything, but my first page I did end up having to overlap. So I just want to make sure this is aligned to how we need it. And this is probably the hardest part of this scrapbook page. But it's a great way to show your paper. And you know what? Think of this for any other scrapbook layout using any other paper you have. Like it's just such a good way to use your designer series paper. I don't know if any of you are like me, but I hoard it. So this is going to force me to not hoard it and actually craft with it. Look, it did actually fit all good.
Oh, what am I doing?
And then once you have all your paper in, you can go ahead and mount one of your 4x6 white pieces directly onto that cherry cobbler cardstock that you had to cut yourself. I apologize. I had to screw something up. Siri seems to think I want to call Nicole at work from that conversation. That is so weird. I hate Siri. Spooky. Okay, and then these pieces, we're not doing anything with them because they are just photo placeholders. You are going to line them up so that they're center on your mat. The best you can, and this is where you might need another guide just to make sure it's all straight. And again, leaving about 1 inch from the top to 1 inch to the bottom, just so that it's symmetrical. And you're going to go ahead and mount your photo mat placers right up against the edge of the 12x12 paper. So you're going to do that on one side, duplicate it for the left side. And apparently I ran out of adhesive. Okay, just a sec. So are you all pretty good at taking photos during the holidays? Because I am not. I just had Thanksgiving and not one single Thanksgiving photo was taken at the dinner because I was too busy cooking. I couldn't take pictures and no one else did. So I sure hope you're able to take some
That is
pictures.
the struggle, right? Is if you're not thinking of it. If I'm not saying, oh, let's take a picture, let's get a picture, nobody does.
Yeah. So here's your friendly reminder to take some photos in the upcoming holidays so you can have photos for your scrapbook page. Or maybe you've got old ones that you need to get caught up on, because I know I do. Okay, so once you have those two down, you can go ahead and mount your center one. But for this, you want to make sure that you're only putting adhesive kind of down the center. And the reason is we might be tucking some photos underneath. So you don't want the edges to have adhesive because you want to be able to tuck the picture underneath. Now, I lifted mine just slightly, so it's just slightly above the 2. I don't know why. I just needed that different dimension. It popped out a little better for me, not a whole lot different, but we're going to have that other element at the bottom. So it's going to hide the fact that these two aren't really placed exactly the same. I didn't make that big of a prominent move, but it's not exactly 100% centered. And while you're all catching up with that, I'm just going to start stamping the white paper so that you can see how I stamped it all out on the one sheet of paper. So I'm just going to set that aside and I'm going to go ahead and ink up the stamped images that you need. So again, using the Memento Black, I'm just stamping one of the beautiful big sprays. Like so. And then I'm also going to need 4 or 5, however many you want to fit on here, of these sprays. I think I only have 4 in my project, but I feel like you need 5. You have to have an odd number. I don't know why I only ended up with 3. I better stamp myself an extra one. We have the room, you have the paper, use it so that you don't have to stamp and color later. You can have some extras. And then I'm going to stamp on the little white die cut. So that's from the Joy of Christmas bundle as well, those dies. And I'm going to stamp the Making Spirits Bright on it. Oh, that was the word I needed. I put joyous out instead of Making Spirits Bright. That's what happened. Because what did I say earlier? This is going on everything. And again, you're just going to center it, nothing fancy, some simple stamping. Voila. And that is all the stamping, people. The rest is cut and assembled. So,
Okay.
while you're getting those all ready, I am going to use my dark cherry cobbler just to fill in the centers of the little sprigs. I am leaving this black and white. I didn't want to add a whole lot of color because there's already a lot of color on your page with the designer series paper. But I am going to add some color to these little berries. I'm just doing like a little dab, a little circle on each one. Again, it's not perfect. It's not going right up to the lines. I just want it to look like a scribble, which is just like the hand-drawn image that we're coloring in.
Sorry, Tricia, what color did you stamp them in?
They're stamped in basic black or just
Okay.
in Memento Black, and then I'm coloring them in with cherry cobbler, the dark.
Thank you.
But honestly, it doesn't matter because you could go over it in the dark. You could go over it again in the light cherry cobbler. Either way, I just want it to kind of look like there's little daubs colored in there, like so. So it's kind of not perfect, just like the image.
You got 6.
Yeah, I overdid it. You only need 2, 4, 5 for the project, but I thought I better add another one to my other page because I feel like it needs to be an odd number. fussy cut it, but I'm gonna actually use my die cut machine. Because I do have the dies, so why not use them? And I think the reason why I like it is it does really get into the crevices. So if you don't have the dies yet, I highly recommend them just because it gives it that cleaner cut. I know sometimes using our paper snips is simple and it's just as effective, but there's just something about it having the perfectly round berries that brings it to life. And although I've done this, my machine needs to be oiled because apparently it started squeaking today. I've never heard it squeaked. I didn't think I needed to WD-40 my cut and emboss machine, but apparently I do. But here's the cutout right here, just how it's like perfectly cut. But for the power of this video, I'm going to cut just to help you kind of keep up to speed too. Although you guys are probably all done already. You've all been crafting for a long time.
Yeah, but some of us are tired and slow.
Yeah, it's the end of the day, I guess. I was hoping to come down and do some alternate samples. Brenda, I started some of your super stamper cards. I'm doing them in Coastal Cabana. So stay tuned to see those post in the inspiration. I wanted to get those finished and posted, but I couldn't find the gems I wanted for them. Because although we're doing traditional Christmas colors, sometimes non-traditional is fun too, just like those Noel cards Brenda showed. I love that non-traditional. Every year I have to do Coastal Cabana and Poppy Parade cards. I don't know what I would do if Poppy Parade ever disappeared or Coastal Cabana, because those are my two favorite Christmas colors.
I think if they got rid of Coastal Cabana, there would be a revolt.
I think you're right.
They make it rid of it once and then they brought it back, didn't they?
Yeah, it wasn't in color. That's how it was introduced to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I learned something today. Is most of you on the call a demonstrator? Is there anyone that's not?
Well, I think we all are. Yeah, because Shanna, you are, right? You're a demo?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So I learned today on the leaders page that apparently there's more than one airport in Houston that you can arrive in.
Oh yeah, I was looking that too. Man, it's such a long flight, Trisha. Like leaving at like 7 in the morning and getting there at 5. I don't know.
It's got layovers.
Yeah. But it's just like a 2 hour and a half in Calgary. It wasn't cheap enough to fly out of Calgary. But I booked it, and apparently I booked it to the wrong airport. So, because I had no idea there was two. What's that?
I couldn't even book on WestJet. When I went to the app, they didn't even have flights loaded that far in advance.
What? Oh, I got a WestJet flight. Weird.
Did you
I
book?
did that in Italy, Trisha. We had to take the train for an hour.
What?
Yep.
Where did you book? To the international or to hobby?
I booked into the oh, I can't remember. I think it's a Lynette, and we were supposed to go into the Malapence or whatever the hell it was. Anyway, so we just got on the bus, went to the train station, got on the train.
Oh, perfect.
It worked.
Yeah, so we'll see. I don't know if she'll be able to change it at this point, but whoever comes with me, I hope you fly to the international airport. So hopefully you guys are all going to convention or on stage, I mean, in March.
What date is it?
March 13th to 17th.
Won't be here.
Where are you going?
Istanbul. And then-
Nice. Well, maybe Shanna and Tanis, and Brenda, Shauna, whoever else is a demonstrator will want to go to on stage and go check out Houston. It's been a long time. I got to go to the space station. Oh my gosh, what an experience when it was open. I don't think it's open to the public anymore though. I think they shut it down.
Here.
I've worn the helmet of the Apollo 13 member. Pretty cool.
That is cool.
Okay. Hopefully you guys are all still cutting, right? Or am I just slow?
I'm done now.
You're done now?
Yeah, all done.
Oh my gosh, you're fast. I guess I shouldn't talk and cut at the same time.
Fine. It's okay. We're all A-okay. Why do you keep doing that to me?
Okay, this big one, I just love it. Cuts so easy. Done. Sometimes you have to have the dies. Okay, so then you're gonna grab this lovely little piece here. So what I did with this is I've cut off one end. I'm leaving the label intact, but I'm just snipping off where the lovely little sprays are. So I'm trying really hard not to cut anything else. Now what happens though is if you do go in a little too deep, you can see the little bubble. So then I just try and correct that a little bit. Now be careful not to overcorrect it because I've done that too and it looks ugly. But you just want to make sure that's nice and clean. This little piece is what we're going to use for up here. So you are going to want to have your little Tombow or your fine tip glue, but I just found that this Tombow works the best. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this top one and I'm going to put a layer of adhesive. I don't want too much on here because remember, I'm tucking a photo underneath. So I just want to add this to the lip here. But I'm going up just a little bit in those other little sides, not a whole lot, just enough to put a little extra adhesive on to give it some support for when I'm tucking, because I don't want this to rip off when I'm mounting my photo in. Whoops. So I'm mounting that to align to the top of the mat, the photo mat. So it's actually adhering or sticking to the cherry cobbler piece. Now the nice thing is this adhesive does dry clear. So if there is like little gaps, it's okay. It's going to be covered with stuff. You're not going to really see it. And it's just going to be a little shiny. That's all. Then you can go ahead and just use your seal or your adhesive to put your Making Spirits braid on. I'm just going to mount that so that it's centered on there like so. But now same thing. I just want to make sure that I put adhesive near the bottom so that I'm not getting anything near the top where this might sit. But before I go ahead and mount this, because we are going to use dimensionals also, I want to start tucking all of my sprigs. So I'm just going to lay them down. I'm just going to lay everything down where I think I might like it. So I'm layering the Making Spirits Bright so that I can still see a little bit of the DSP underneath. You can put it lower, higher. I still want to cover a little bit of the white and I'm centering it so that there's just that little bit of DSP showing. And then I'm tucking this under. And then of course I want to just add a bunch of other sprigs, but we'll add those sprigs later. I just want to make sure this is sitting where I want it. I don't want it too high because I don't know what picture I'm putting here. If you know what picture you're putting there, then you can go ahead and do that. So for instance, I might want to cover up my little watermark that I had on there. And so I might just play with that a little more. So as you can see, it's coming out the bottom. So I'm going to snip the edge just so that I don't have that piece sticking out. The rest is going to be covered. But plus I don't want it up too high because again, it might cover some of the picture. I just want enough so that you can see the little accent. So again, I've got too much there. I'm just going to keep snipping until I'm at somewhere that I kind of like. I do want it showing, and I think that that's good. So I'm going to take my picture out. I don't want to put my picture in, but I'm going to go ahead and mount this little sprig. Now that I've tested it out, I've kind of cut it to a straight edge, and I know that I was happy with that straight edge lined up here. So that's where I'm putting that, like so. Now I'm just putting the adhesive at the bottom. I'm not putting it everywhere, remember, because I need room for that picture to go under. I think I put a little too much adhesive on. So we're just going to grab our little eraser. Hopefully you guys still have one of those in your craft stash. Because I just screwed up. And so you know what, when that happens, and maybe it's like way too much adhesive like that and you can't get it off because it's hidden, no one knows. I'm just going to take a scrap piece of paper and cover it up with it. So here we go. We're just going to go like this. No one's going to see it because it's all just a scrap. And then I'm good. Now, the only thing is you want to make sure that your photo won't catch on that when you tuck it under. But I think that that is fine. There we go. So that's good. Now I can go ahead and put dimensionals on here now, but I want to keep them to the bottom because again, I want to be able to tuck my photo underneath and I don't want them up high where they're getting in the way of my photo. So depending on where you end up mounting it, you might want to just use a small strip of the Tombow. I like it popped up a little bit. I think everything needs to be dimensionaled. That's just my opinion. Again, just leaving it so that I can see a little bit of that paper at the bottom, and then we're good. And then you can go ahead and just start tucking in these little sprigs where you want them. You do need 2 of them to mount together. So I'm going to add just a little bit of adhesive to one of the sprig bottom branches, and I'm going to layer it with another one. We're going to start with the top one here, actually. That's what we'll do. So I'm just layering them so that I have a little bundle, and I'm going to go ahead and just mount that on one of the solid pieces. Because again, I don't want it putting any adhesive underneath. So what I'm going to do, actually, you can either use your Tombow, that'll work too, but I'm obsessed with glue dots. So I'm going to use a glue dot.
Haven't you found, I don't know, that the glue dots don't seem the same as they were? Like,
yes, they don't come off attached to anything. It always takes me multiple times.
okay, so it's not just me.
No. No.
Good.
So what I'm going to do though is I want to put that into like a little ball. This is too big, this glue dot, for what I want it for. So I'm just going to squish it down a little bit so that it fits right on that little center spot. It's on that solid spot. Don't know if you can see that, just a thicker spot on my page. So then I can go ahead and take that bundle of sprigs and I'm going to just mount this to it. Just like so. And then this is where you get to use some of your ribbon again. And all I did was tied a little knot. This is no bows. This is nothing fancy. Now, we do have the white ribbon going on here. And if that's something that kind of bugs you, pardon me, you can use your cherry cobbler blend and make a cherry cobbler little knot. Or you can just use this. It's so subtle, you can't really tell. And you know what, by the time you get your other photos in there, honestly, people are going to be looking at the pretty pictures, not at the little tiny knot in the top. So you don't have to worry about that. I do like to use my little mini dimensionals to mount that on with, just so that it sticks. Or I could do another little glue dot right there. Actually, that's what I'm going to do as a glue dot because again, I'm at risk of putting adhesive there where I might want a picture. So we don't want any adhesive to kind of land on that page. So we're just going to put a little bit at the top there. And then there's your little twig. Now this is lifting a little bit, but once you put it in your protective sleeve, it's going to be fine. And then you can go ahead and just put a little bit of adhesive. I just do a little bit on the bottom of each sprig. Just a little strip, enough to tuck it in. So I'm just going to kind of go over top a little bit. And this is where I'm going to use the 3, is on this bundle. Because my sample, remember I said I didn't have enough. It was bugging me that it wasn't odd Wasn't an odd number. Now we'll make it. Okay. And just like that, we have a lovely scrapbook page. And in fact, you know what? I've got a fun picture. Here's a picture of Chantel. Maybe it'll fit in here. Uh-oh, what did I do? I must have put too much glue on there. Okay, just a sec. Darn it. See, you have to learn from me because I make all the mistakes so that you don't.
Right.
Yeah, so make
All
sure
make mistakes. That's what life is about.
So I'm just making sure the adhesive is only at the bottom there. There we go. And then I can like play with my sprigs again. Still not sliding or it's getting caught on the little pieces. That's what's happening. And once I play with it, you might have to trim it down a little bit. And that's what's going to happen with this one. It's catching the bottom. But anyways, oh, that's why I didn't tuck it low enough. It has to be tucked lower. Okay, there we go. And then I just have to play with it. My nails are not allowing me to shift it the way I want to, but you get the picture. No pun intended there. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoy that scrapbook page and you'll have 3 pictures that you can kind of add side by side to help with your memory keeping this Christmas. Brenda, looking forward to seeing and making yours.
I love your page. It's awesome. I need to get my camera set up here, but that'll give people a couple seconds to finish off this page. Gotta go to the group.
And you know what? Sometimes time gets in the way. Like I don't do as much scrapbooking as I used to do, or as much as I feel I should do. But as long as I have one page, I feel like I have enough to bring that memory back.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
Yeah. And thanks to those of you that have sent in your registration for the next event. I don't know what happened here. No, hold on. Something weird is going on. I'm trying to go into Facebook. Yeah, okay, I'm there. No audio. Got it. I might have hit leave meeting.
I think so. I kept hearing the doorbell.
Being it was recording. Yeah, I don't know what that sound is. Why that's been happening.
Somebody comes or goes, isn't it?
No, I don't know. Like it's coming from my phone or I keep hearing it, but it's not my doorbell. I don't know.
No,
Okay,
it's the Zoom
Dad,
doorbell.
you want to spotlight me?
Yes, I am.
And I'll see if I'm crooked or not.
Oh, okay. Need to make my mouse.
Okay.
My mouse.
There we go. Okay, so yes, I quickly cut up myself some pieces. So they might not look exactly like your pieces, but this is the page we're going to make. I did share it in the inspiration album as well. So there is a picture of it there. Trisha, are you going to put your page in there?
I did already, yeah.
Okay. So we are going to be doing some of that lazy watercoloring that we did this afternoon on some of our projects. We are going to be stamping 1, 2, 3 full images from our large image stamp here, the one that you were just using. And then we're going to just do kind of half ones because they're getting tucked in underneath anyway. We don't have to worry about coloring the whole things in. Now, fun fact, do you guys remember that super stamper card? I don't even know where it went. This one right here. Okay, well, obviously I had all of the Noels left over from prepping that. So I'm like, no, we're totally going to use these on this scrapbook page. So the only sentiment on here is Noel. I wanted to stay true to this stamp set. I probably will go back and add in something else, like a Merry Christmas or something up here. But that is, you know, you've got some creative control over that if you want to add anything else in, because the Christmas Classic stamp set does have some really nice sayings in it. Like you could have Happy Holidays up here or whatnot. So, and then we're also going to stamp on one of the deckled circles. So let's just go over what you should have from me. You are going to need a paper trimmer because we are going to be cutting our 12 by 12 white down and your DSP, but you should have 2 pieces of 12 by 12. You've got one in Mossy Meadow, and I have a lot of Mossy Meadow 12 by 12, so I'm pretty sure that mine's also a stockpile from when they had those combo packages. And then you've got a sheet of white, and we're going to trim 1/2 inch off 2 sides in just a second. And then you are going to need a piece of 6 by, I think it's 11 and something. I don't want to tell you the wrong amount. Well, no, we got to trim. Hold on. I got to measure my actual 11.5. So you can go ahead. And this is something I don't know if we actually cautioned you about. Depending on how you cut this 12 by 12, this strip for your layout you just did, you might have ruined the ability to use this sheet.
We did. I did.
I didn't even think of it until it was too late, because to me, this is directional. You can use it going this way, but I feel like I like it better this way. So if that happened to you, my backup pick would be this page.
That's what I chose.
That one's not directional.
Okay.
So if you didn't cut this wrong inadvertently, because we didn't really give you any reminders about that, you can use it if it works. If not, use that other pattern. I think they both work and they don't take away from the design.
Okay.
So you are going to have to cut that, and then you're also going to have to cut yourself a little tiny strip of the striped pattern that we use. Well, you just used it, and then we used it around our box project today. So that's just 1/2 inch by 11.5. So let's just start by getting our paper trim down that we need to. So on your 12 by 12, like I said, you only have to cut 2 sides. So we're just cutting 1/2 inch off of 2 sides. So I just make 1 cut, and then I just rotate it in my paper trimmer once and cut it again. We are going to be stamping on this piece of white, so we're not going to glue it to our Mossy Meadow quite yet, our background. And then if you're using the DSP, whatever pattern, you want it to be 6 inches wide by 11.5. And then it should go from end to end on your basic white. And then same with this shiny strip. You're going to cut this to 1/2 inch by 11.5. So my class to go kit for this month, I just got to show you, Trisha, totally unrelated to what we're doing. My class to go kit this month was using the polar bear stuff. So when I was out getting groceries, I saw peppermint patties and I was like, oh my gosh, that's just too cute.
That's
so
awesome.
I used Trisha's idea from our stamp camp for your little chocolate, and I just made a bigger little matchbook and put my little York peppermint patty in there as a little surprise treat for everybody. I'm like, so fun.
Brenda, can you show me where that I don't have a big enough piece, long enough piece of the
Of this?
No, the diagonal one.
Oh.
So where does it go on so that I know where to?
Oh, okay. So when you cut your paper down this afternoon, then you ended up accidentally cutting off your 12-inch side?
I must have done something. I don't know what I did.
Well, I cut mine wrong here. I already had mine cut and I cut it again. Dang it. I got to cut myself a new one too.
Okay, so it's supposed to be across the top there. So I have to have something that works with that. Okay.
You know what? I feel bad because I pre-cut all the pieces and I'm meaning to show it to you guys all, and I never did a post with it. And I ended up combining it all in with my other scraps. So next time, next stamp
on this side.
Yeah, okay. So I'm sorry, what's the size again?
Just 1/2 inch.
No, just half an
Half
inch.
an inch by 11 and a half.
Oh, half an inch by 11 and a half. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll
Perfect.
use this one on this page. I think I'll do it like this.
Thank you.
Okay, so that is cut and ready to go. You can set that off to the side. You have a crumb cake photo mat for a 5x7 picture. So we've got one page with 4x6 pictures and one page with a 5x7. I'm just tucking this little strip of mossy meadow. Let me just move these out of the way. I like to do what I can so that we have less pieces to possibly get lost as we go along. So I just like to tuck a little strip of cardstock sometimes along one side of my photo mat. It just helps you sometimes anchor your photo and give you an opportunity to introduce a new color sometimes if you want, or if you've used a color, if there's a color in your DSP and you haven't used it anywhere else, you could add like just a strip of that and it makes it more intentional. And we all have these strips of cardstock, or I do anyway, in my craft bin. So they're just a great little easy add-on. So go ahead, attach that to the left-hand side of your crumb cake photo mat. And then you've got 2 deckled circles. Now, if you have not ordered these, you are missing out. Look at these circles. The largest circle is 6 inches wide. It is amazing. I just made the most amazing scrapbooking page. Let me show it to you guys with these. Like, look at that. It's so cool. You need them. So if you don't have the deckled circles, it's not very often that I'm like, you need this, but you need this. If you are a scrapbooker, we've been waiting forever for these dies. They're $51, I think, and you get, I don't even know how many are in here. 10? Like so many.
14, I think.
Yeah, I think that's
Such a
14.
good value. So you've got 2 of those that we are going to use. Now this strip of ribbon is left over from that Noel card that we did as super stampers. So Cheryl, you might need to cut yourself a piece because I don't think you were a super stamper this time.
No, I wasn't.
But are you going to be in March?
We're going to be away, so I
On
don't know.
the 2nd of March, you're away already?
I think I have to check. I know it's March. I just don't know the exact date yet. I haven't booked the flights, but we
Hopefully
booked.
you will be a super stamper. I know Tanis is. Shanna, are you going to be a super stamper?
Most likely, yep.
I love it. So if you made that card already, Cheryl, if not, you can cut yourself like 15 inches of ribbon and cut it in half.
Okay.
So we're just going to use half. We're going to make that double bow again. And we're going to color it with our Old Olive blend. And then you have 3 different, well, 2 sprigs that are the same, and then this other big sprig. And we're going to be tucking those in just as accents. And then you have a piece of white. I think we gave everyone like half of an 8.5 by 11. And this is where we're going to stamp out all of our, you've got those Noel letters. This is where we're going to stamp out all of these focal points, and we're going to color them in using lazy watercoloring. So the lazy watercoloring method, hopefully you guys gave it a try this afternoon. So I'm just going to go ahead and get a little bit of cherry cobbler on my block. And then I'm actually going to use Mossy Meadow and Old Olive. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of Old Olive and a little bit of Mossy Meadow. I kind of make just like a little palette, so to speak. And then we're going to need, let's start with stamping out the ones we're going to cut. Then actually, you know what? That doesn't make sense. We might as well go from a lighter color into a darker color. So on your 12 by 12, which we've trimmed down a little bit of your basic white, can you see how there's some really light ones in the background? We might as well do those first, and then we can just go right into the black ink pad. If you happen to have a crumb cake blend, I would grab that too. And we'll just do a little bit of flicking in the background. My problem with blends is one always runs out sooner than the other, right? Like usually the light. So I order another one, but then I don't want to throw out the other one because it's not totally useless. And then I end up with multiple sets of the same color where one works, one doesn't. I don't know. I need a better strategy. So clean off this stamp. Mine had real red on it from that Noel card this afternoon. You guys probably have black since you just used it with Trisha. So clean it off and have your photo mat handy because we want to use that as a guide. So we're going to be stamping off because we don't want it to be overly powerful crumb cake. So I'm going to ink it up. I'm going to stamp it off on the side. And then I'm going to put my photo mat roughly where it's going to end up living. Okay, I like to just eyeball it. And then I'm going to just press my stamp down. So I've got one kind of full image there. I'm going to ink that up again, stamp it off, and then I'm going to put another one below it. Part of it will get covered up anyway when we add our DSP on. So we're just going to see like a little smidge of the top. And then I want one just sort of angling out here in kind of that top right area. So once again, I'm going to stamp that off and then give that a little eyeball. And then take your crumb cake marker if you like that flicked look. It just helps relax the whiteness a bit. And I'm just going to flick it over the areas where I actually did the stamping. And it kind of sprays out, you know, in a few directions. So just something like that in the background. Oh, and I had something on my finger. Good thing I smeared it on the bottom part where I'm going to cover it up. So now since we did that stamping, we might as well add our DSP and then we won't have all these pieces floating around. So I like to leave, you can just see the bottom corner of the screen here. That's the actual finished page. I like to leave a little white space. I don't always like to butt my DSP up to the very bottom. So we're just going to leave a tiny bit of white space. Now I am going to use Tombow to put this on. But up at the top, I do not want to bring the edge of my glue right to the very edge of my DSP because I want to be able to tuck things underneath it once we've gotten to that stage. So I usually leave myself, I don't know, like at least ½ an inch of space. So that I can add things in because, you know, sometimes I'm just playing around, planning things out, don't exactly know what I'm doing. So we're just leaving a little bit of white space at the bottom, like ½ an inch kind of thing. And then when you go to add this strip of DSP, it is going to line up right to the top of the other piece of DSP. So it's not going above it onto the white at all. And I'm just going to okay, and I'm going to put that on with Tombow. So just as best you can, line that pattern up to the top of that DSP. Okay, then you can take this whole piece. We could even add, if we wanted, on dimensionals, our photo mat. So we might as well do that. Then we can just set all of this out of the way and it'll be ready and waiting for us. So my photo mat is at an angle. I almost always angle my photo mats. So we laid it out so that we kind of had an idea where we wanted that background stamping. So then when you go to put your photo mat over there, it should work. And your photo mat is kind of divided in half by the white space at the top and the DSP at the bottom. It's sort of an equal distribution. And the other reason we want to use dimensionals is what we're going to be doing is tucking the larger of the deckled circle underneath the photo mat, but the top deckled circle is going to go over top of the photo mat. So that's a fun little trick I like to do as well sometimes, but we'll add that in later. So we can set that off to the side. And we're going to make sure that we stamp 3 full images. And then we have 2 that are just kind of tucked in underneath that DSP. So we don't have to worry about getting the full image even stamped if you feel like you're running short on white. And to tell you the honest truth, why I ended up adding those ones in is because I messed up on my stamping on the white and I needed to cover up my boo-boo. So, you know, when in doubt, just stamp something and add it over top. Yeah, because I initially didn't have any background stamping done when I was putting this together. And then I decided, no, I do want something. And I messed up when I was stamping. So I had to just cover it with an actual colored image, which I like better. So sometimes your boo-boos lead to good outcomes. So now this is what I mean here is you can't actually get 5 full shapes. So you really just have to worry about getting, say, 2 half shapes. And I personally find coloring very therapeutic. Not when I've signed up to do swaps and I've left it to like a couple days before and I need 20 of something. That's not therapeutic. But just when I can take my time and color stuff in, I do find it really relaxing. So once you've got those stamped out, we're going to employ our lazy watercoloring technique. And you can see how mine get pretty wet. It even drags out the image from the initial stamp. And I like that look. I find more water is your friend. And I'm going to decide, and you should decide too, what is going to be Old Olive and what is going to be Mossy Meadow. So I would decide if I want this shape of leaf to be, say, Old Olive, and then maybe this shape, the Mossy Meadow. Whatever you decide, just do them all the same. My water painter is full of red here. I'm just squeezing it out. So I'm going to start with my Mossy Meadow or my Old Olive, and I think I'm going to do, for mine, I'm going to do these ones in Old Olive. And once again, I don't go to the edges. That's just a personal style. And this is something that is taking you literally seconds. I'm actually going to time this, how long it takes me to color it. If you want it to look like perfect, then you should get your blends out and spend more time on it. But that's a totally different finished outcome. So once I get my first sort of layer of color, then I take my painter, water painter, and I go into more concentrated ink. And I usually just add that in at the bottom. See what I mean? And then you can air dry it, or you can even blast it with the heat tool. If you blast it with the heat tool, it does have a different finished look. And I'm almost like dropping the ink and water on. And it just sort of goes where it wants to go a little bit, if that makes sense. And I think it's looks better when you don't try too hard. Yeah, so you can see when it dries, how it dries with that like two-tone kind of look. And I just think that looks really cool. So now I'm going to do the other shape in Mossy Meadow. so that there is like a little bit of a color difference. Because we do have those two colors on here. And I am coloring in the sprig. This one I did way too dark. I don't like that. Should have did a little lighter or had more water. Because you can't, because like Trisha mentioned before, oh my gosh, are the Oilers playing tonight? Oh, it's been painful around here. When they lose, Shepherd just loses his mind. I don't get it. I'm like, why do you care so much? You don't play for the team. You don't have any money invested in the team. Yeah, what?
It's 3-0.
Yeah.
It's 2-0 in the first 7 minutes of the game for the Oilers.
Wow, it's better than the other night.
Yes.
It must be a guy thing, a boy thing. I don't know. I know some girls get really into hockey, but I can't relate.
My daughter's become a huge hockey fan. She does not miss a game.
Like watching it on TV, or she's going to?
No, watching them on TV.
I think it's fun if you've got like a group. You know, like in school, they probably like get together.
She's made her roommates like hockey. Although one of them is a lacrosse or ringette player, so she just naturally likes the sport.
Yeah. So, I mean, the mossy meadow is just a subtle difference. It wouldn't even be the end of the world if you did them all the same color. And then I'm going to do my berries. So I'm going to get some ink, some of that green out of my brush. I just squeeze it all out on there. And quickly do my little berries. Like Trisha said, it's just like a little circle of color. You don't want to think too much on it or make it too perfect.
I like your tip with the old olive. I should have thought of that color for my other projects. I like this look.
I just find it's way faster than using blends. You know, when you're mass producing things, like if you're doing this on a card, I don't want to spend that much time on it. I think I've spent 5 minutes and I have colored in 5 images. Okay, so then once again, I'm just dipping the tip right into the more concentrated color where there is no water really, because my brush is wet on the end. And then I'm just putting that at the base of each one of these little berries. Like literally just the smallest little detail. And I was thinking it would look nice if we colored the berries in with the Wink of Stella, but I can't find mine. So if you have a Wink of Stella, I do think it would add a nice effect on your berries if you gave them a little Wink of Stella. You could even use your Wink of Stella to color too. You can water paint with it and then it's glittery at the same time. I feel like Wink of Stella has been unavailable recently too.
I just
Yeah.
ordered some. It said it was low stock.
Yeah, something. Yeah, I saw something. God, I hope they never get rid of Wink of Stella too.
Well, it is available in other places. Sorry.
Like other stores.
Yep.
Yeah, but you know what? Like if you don't live in a big city,
You can buy it on Amazon.
is it the same price?
I honestly don't know. I didn't check. But they have different colors.
Yeah, we used to have that gold one, remember?
Yep.
Okay, so if you have the dies, go ahead and die cut these out. I'm going to cut these out by hand, but I'm going to let them sit just for a few seconds. And you can go ahead and grab your smaller Mossy Meadow deckled circle. And we're going to use that sweater looking stamp. I'm going to clean mine because I don't know what color I used it last. And on this smaller one, we just want to stamp, if you look close at that, the top of the circle and the bottom of the circle. So the middle part of the circle has no stamping. So I'm going to ink it up. I'm going to do the top.
Oh, got to clean.
And I'm going to do the bottom so that it's going to end up looking like this, which is kind of neat. It is actually a really cool stamp. And then we're going to put on our Noel. Now, I just had an idea.
Ooh, do share.
I'm just looking around to see if I feel like gold looks better than silver with this suite, don't you?
Yep.
Yeah. So what I was just thinking, and I don't think I have my gold embossing powder readily available, is that you could, if you wanted to really jazz this up, take a Versamark. Let me, hold on. Do I have gold? Out. Gold. I do. Okay. Let's try this. Let's just experiment for the sake of fun. Just gonna wipe out this old school tray. I've got one of the original trays. Remember they came in a 12 by 12 one too?
Yeah.
And let me find a Versamark. Okay. This is my thought. I'll try it. I'll see if it works. And if you like it, you could do it at home. What I'm thinking is I'm going to take, let me get I got to dry this with a Kleenex so it's not wet. I don't want all my embossing powder to stick to the inside of the tray. Okay. So I've got my gold embossing powder. I've got my letter. And I'm going to put half of my letter. I'm just pressing it into the edge of my, can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
See where I'm going? I got to get my tweezers ready. Which that could be impossible to find. I honestly, I do not know where shit goes.
No, it's because the kids take the tweezers. Trust me.
Well, the tweezers that I use for my eyebrows do seem to go MIA all the time. I went to comb my hair the other morning and there wasn't a comb and Reese had brought it down to his room. Did that make me incredibly angry? Yeah, it sure did. Okay, so I did half of my letter. Can you guys see that? It doesn't want to focus perfectly. Half of my letter in gold.
Only half? Oh.
Yeah. Only half.
Where is it?
Because if I wanted some gold, I would have just cut them out gold. We'll just try it on one. Yeah, because I don't know if you heard me over the heat tool. If I wanted gold, I would have just cut out gold. I think it looks kind of cool when it's just half. What do you think?
Very cool.
That works.
So if you want to take your project up a level, you could do this. If you're like, no thanks, it's 8:30 at night, I'm done. Just put them on. Just put them on white. And I'm just gonna try this out and see. I also want to point something out when I come back. Ooh, that wasn't perfectly straight. Do I care? Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Remember earlier when I was talking about embossing? From the underside?
Mm.
This is what I mean. I really hope I can get my camera to focus. I feel like it never does when you want it to. There we go. See how perfectly embossed that is?
That's great.
Completely smooth.
From the, and you're doing from the bottom.
Doing it from the bottom.
Cool.
My whole life. Yeah, I got to make sure I do the.
Which is funny because when we all learned embossing, well, I don't know about you, Brenda, but when we learned it way back in the day, we did it where you put the paper on the heat element or you put it on an iron sitting in a box and you did do it from the bottom up. How I've ever switched over to doing it from the top with these guns and never once again thought about how beautiful embossing was when we did it from underneath. So thanks for sharing that tip. But I mean, back in the olden days, that's how it was done. But you're right, with these heat tools, we go from the top down.
Yeah, it just makes it so much smoother than if you were to do it from the top. So like sometimes it doesn't matter. Like, you know how we did the joyous for that card? That doesn't matter. But on stuff like this, it does matter. It does look better.
Yeah, it doesn't get all the bubbles in it.
Okay. There we go. My brain did a creative detour. I must have had this idea lurking in there somewhere else. Okay, so hopefully you've been working along there. You can decide if you want to spend the extra time on this, like you don't have to put the Noel on right now. I just wanted to test it out to see if it actually looks fun. I think it does. So when you add your Noel on, it is going to slightly hang over the edges of this circle. And I tried to make sure that I was embossing them at about the right same level, but you know what? If it's not perfect, it's just not perfect. But it came from my own two hands, right?
It was perfect. It would say Hallmark on it.
Exactly. Okay. I do really like how this turned out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Fun. Okay. So I've got that. Have you guys been cutting?
Well done.
Okay. You're done?
Cutting out.
Wow.
Perfect. I
I
know.
have a machine.
Took my little, oh, do you have the machine?
Yeah, I have the dies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. That's what I meant. Not do you have the machine? Of course you've got the machine.
Yes, I know. I said machine. It was me.
Well, I will cut these out by hand quickly. I could use the machine, but honestly, sometimes I won't lie, you guys. I just don't want to stand up. I just want to stand there. I'd rather just sit and cut stuff out. And I feel like I'm far away from you guys if I do go over to my machine. So yeah, it's hard to believe it's like almost the end of October already. Time just goes so quick. It's probably like what, 9, maybe 8 weekends till Christmas. That's just
Lucky I'm not close to you because I'll probably hit you.
I know. Where does the time, like, where has 2023 gone overall, really?
I have no idea.
Yeah, me neither. It's definitely been the most interesting year of my life, that I can wholeheartedly say. Last night, Shepherd and I we usually watch a movie every Friday night together. We watched part 1 of the last Mission Impossible set of movies. And it was pretty good. Shepherd's like, why do we have to wait so long for the other movie to come out? And I said, I don't know why they do that. I don't know.
Well, it's probably because of all the strikes and everything, how long it takes to actually get the movies made.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like this always was meant to be a 2-parter. It's like, and then they're wrapping up the series, the Mission Impossible series, which I have thoroughly enjoyed. And I've watched those movies a lot over the years. And
How many
multiple.
episodes is the series? I've never even heard of that.
Trisha, are you serious with Tom Cruise?
Oh, yeah. Like the movies. Yeah. Sorry, I thought you meant there was like a new series out on it.
No, like the movie
The
series.
movies.
Yeah. So they're finally wrapping it up. Sure. Can I talk to you about it when I'm done? Yeah, so it had some pretty cool stunts, I have to say. Has anyone else seen it?
Nope.
No, I recommend it. I was entertained. And I do really appreciate Tom Cruise that he does almost all of his own stunts. You know, he's doing pretty good for a guy his age. Because he's like, what?
Isn't he
55?
your age?
No, he's like 55 or 57. I know. Oh my God, I saw the craziest thing on the internet. Someone made a post saying that the Friends cast is currently older than the youngest Golden Girl when Golden Girls was on TV. Isn't that just trippy to think of it? Like, in fact, when Blanche, Rose, Dorothy, and Sophia lived together, like, they were like less than 10 years older than me. I'm 47. Did they not seem like so much older?
Old?
Right? Like, it's actually kind of flabbergasting when you think of it now. Like, they were like in their early 50s. There were characters on that show.
Tom Cruise is 61.
Oh,
That's
old.
even more insane. He's very fit.
This reminds me of this meme I've seen going around too about, okay, it's going to take me a minute to remember his name, but,
George Clooney?
no, it was like Father of the Bride and the dad and the mom, like Diane Lane or.
Oh yeah, and wasn't it Steve Martin?
Yeah, and Steve Martin, and they were supposed to be like 45 or something like that.
Oh, yeah, but they look like they're like 60s. Yes, I agree. I know. It's like the concept of aging from the 80s and 90s is like so vastly different than like the perception of aging now.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I went to this business meetup and I was saying to people, I'm like, this is so great. There's so many young people here. What a great event. And I was just saying, when I used to do that 25 years ago, it was always silver-haired men who were in the room, not these like young people. And so I was just thinking it was all fabulous. And then I turned and looked at my friend and this like epiphany hit me. I'm like, we are the old people now.
Yeah. You are the
gray hair people.
But stop and think about it. Wasn't your grandmother old at 65 or 70?
Oh,
No,
People
not
today
until
at
she was
65 and
80.
70.
Not until she was 80.
Sorry?
my mom has felt old to me the entire time I've known her. Like when I
Really?
met her like 25 years ago, she's had short hair. She always dressed like the way she's dressing now is like how she was dressing then. Do you know what I mean? Like her wardrobe was always just so much older than she actually was.
Interesting.
My
Yeah,
grandma is 96, and I swear she's looked the same since I was a child.
wow, that is awesome.
Like 40,
No, I mean, like, she looked old.
Oh.
old for 40 years.
Oh. See, I never thought my grandma was old until she was like 85. And I think it's because she still did everything. She was so active all the time. She bought the same makeup as I did. Like we'd go shopping for the same makeup. She'd go out every weekend clothes shopping. Like she just was so spunky that she didn't become old till she couldn't do any of that stuff anymore.
Well, that's the kind of grandma I want to be. So that's what I'm hoping for. Okay, so what we've got done so far, we've got our 12 by 12 along the bottom. We did our background stamping. We've added our photo mat up. We're going to start by taking this larger Mossy Meadow deckled circle, and we're going to pop, let me just check. Nope, I'm only gluing down the part that is going underneath my photo mat. So I'm going to put glue on the top part of one half of this deckled circle, and I'm going to slip it in here, and it's just going to catch the back of that photo mat, and it's slightly over the white, like into the white space, so to speak. Then I'm going to grab this one with my Noel, and I'm going to put 2 dimensionals on the O and L side, so like the right, because eventually we are going to put a picture on there. Now, hopefully that won't affect you, and because this isn't glued down, you won't have anything really important in this part of your photo that dipping over into it is going to matter. Now, the 2 sprigs that are kind of half sprigs, one of them is going to get tucked up underneath here. Now, sometimes notice what is happening. Your paper is curving. Just take your fingers and you can gently smooth it out. So I didn't do that on my actual layout, and I wish I would have. So just use your fingers to kind of smooth them down a little flat. You're going to take this little piece that's just a portion, and I'm just going to use my Tombow. And why I like to not glue my paper all the way at the top is you can see how I can lift it up, and I can just add that right in that corner. So it just goes right underneath the DSP, just with some, you know, Tombow. All right, now over here, we're going to grab one of your full-size ones, and we're going to tuck it up and underneath. So it's going to go under that deckled circle, and it's going to go underneath the corner of your photo mat so that it's poking up from the side. I always like to put things in first just to make sure, and then I go back and I add adhesive. And it's on a bit of an angle, okay? So it's not going up and down, like it's not this direction. It is angled out. And this large sprig, you might have to poke the middle pieces out. Sometimes they don't come out of the die. Or I guess you could have left it solid. We're going to take this and we're going to just add that as another accent. So I'm just going to use Tombow again. And I'm going to add that underneath there. So it's going to like mask what you colored in a little bit, and that's okay. And then for your other kind of partial shape, we're going to tuck that in along this side. And if it hangs over your white a smidgen, that is fine, because we're still going to add this to that Mossy Meadow piece, 12 by 12. And this one I do have kind of going more almost up and down. So we have 2 more, and we're going to add these on, and then we need to color our string, which, where has mine gone? Okay, here it is. So we're going to start by tucking one up underneath the Noel. So they're kind of coming out from like the side and bottom. So we're almost like fully filling, almost like a wreath kind of idea, like this. And then just adjust like how far you need to tuck them underneath. Figure that out. And then we've got a couple green sprigs that we're going to add in.
I'm gonna say
Oh, go
thanks
ahead.
and goodbye. I'm gonna say thanks and goodbye.
Okay.
I have to drive one of my kids somewhere, so
I know.
thanks very much.
Summer wants to go to her friends at 9.
Yeah. Is it a Tammy bow?
It is a Tammy bow.
Okay. And how long was it?
About like 15 inches.
Okay,
Okay.
awesome. Thank
Okay,
you very
thanks,
much.
Candace. Talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
Kenneth.
Bye. Thank you, Trisha.
Bye.
We're just gonna add these sprigs in. One is gonna come down here. And then we're gonna put that Tammy bow right here. And then I'm gonna add this last sprig. So I'm just gonna shift my page off to the side for a second. And we're gonna use the stamping blend on the ribbon. And we're gonna make it Old Olive. So this is the other half of my ribbon from the other card. If you need to cut yourself another piece from your ribbon, do that. I feel like we used a ton of ribbon and we still have lots left, which I love. Okay, perfect. And then yes, we're gonna do the double bow, the Tammy bow again. Does anyone need me to go through the steps on how to do that?
I think we're okay.
Okay, you got it, Cheryl? You figured it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, practice makes perfect, right? I gotta make my little loops a little smaller to work for this length. And I'm gonna be adding this bow just to the side of the deckled circle. Okay. Perfect. Okay, then I just have to kind of cut that one edge that seems a little, there's always one side that ends up being a bit longer. Okay, so now I'm going to use glue dots. And I'm just going to put a few glue dots right here. So kind of by the edge of that L, but on the stamped and colored shapes that we've added. Those sprigs, that's where the glue dots are actually going. And then once again, look at, you know, what side of your bow looks better. I always feel like one side, the knot just looks better. And then we're just going to tuck it right on our page, just right beside. And then we have this last little sprig, but I wanted to put the bow on, so it'll kind of help me with where I want to put this. And I'm just going to tuck it up at the top of the bow. I think my other one on my other page gravitated somewhere because it's in a weird spot. So we've got one of those sprigs down here. We added the bow beside. And then I added that other little sprig just kind of underneath the top of the bow. Then lastly, all we have to do is put this on our 12 by 12 mossy meadow. So I'm going to use my Tombow. Not a ton of Tombow, because if you do use too much, the moisture will make your top layer bubble. There we go.
Oh,
I do really love it with the gold on the bottom.
sure. I'll do that after
Yeah,
we're done.
Yeah,
right.
it's beautiful, Brenda.
That a brand new idea in the moment. And I don't know why my camera keeps going crooked. Okay, perfect. So you guys have two fantastic pages. I love the scrapbook add-on class because I love scrapbooking. So I think we'll definitely offer it at the next event too, right, Trisha?
Yeah.
So we'll advertise that closer to the event when we actually know what we're using and stuff.
Thanks.
And everything. Do you guys have any questions about either of the pages?
No.